Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the different patterns of evolution. For at the very first, to understand evolution, we are to get familiar with some of the terminologies which are associated with evolution. At the very first, we have species. Well, a species refers to the organisms that are potentially capable to naturally interbreed among themselves, or you can also define species as a group of interbreeding animals which are reproductively isolated from other such organisms. So, if you consider on the technical definition, I repeat again, a group of interbreeding organisms which are reproductively isolated from other such groups. It gives a clear concept that all the organisms which are similar to each other and have the common properties forms a species. Number 2, all the organisms of a species are capable of interbreeding among themselves. Number 3, they are reproductively isolated, that means they are not able to reproduce with animals of other species. For this, if we take into consideration, we widely know cat. There are several types of cat: domestic cat, wild cat, the leopard cat, and quite a many. The domestic cat, which we commonly have in our homes as pet, all of them have a similar tendency, property, characteristics, and they are able to interbreed among themselves. They can reproduce viable offsprings. But if you make that cat to mate with a jungle cat, or you say leopard cat, they will not be able to produce viable offsprings. Well, thus in terms we can say that though both they are under the same species, they are from different genus, or they are reproductively isolated, which makes them a separate species. Well, the biological species concept defines species as a group of organisms that share the common gene pool. Well, all the organisms of the same species will have a common gene pool, and they are reproductively isolated from other such population and do not exchange genetic information. Well, I already discussed this. Now, what is a gene pool? Well, the gene pool is nothing but the sum total of all genes with all their variations possessed by the species at a particular amount of time. You can consider a group of frogs. Some may be big, some small, some may be highly active, others may be dormant, some may be black in color, some brownish, or some muddish in color. So, they have different characters, and all the characters, as we know, are the result of two alleles, either the dominant one or the recessive one. Thus, all the genes, you can say, present in all these frogs which we have makes the gene pool at that amount of time, or at that particular point of time. Why the particular point of time is a necessary factor? See, suppose today you are studying the gene pool of a population of frog which is present in your area. 15 days later, when you will conduct the same study, the result might be different, because it might so happen that few more frogs will take birth, or some of the frogs might die due to something or the other. As a result, there is a constant change in the number of frogs, so there will be a change in its gene pool. Well, all the alleles in the individual that make up the population, that is the reservoir from which the next generation draws its genes. Now, the terminology of next generation draws its genes. What happens is that, you see, from the father and mother, the new generation will be born, that is, their offsprings will be taking birth. Thus, you can clearly say that the reservoir, because why it comes to reservoir, the parents or the older frogs, they are the storehouse from whose sperm and ovum, or by the process of reproduction, the new organism will be produced. So, that new organism, how it is being produced? It is taking genes from its parents, that is from the reservoir, and then it is taking place. Now, let us consider on population. What is population? Scientifically, it is termed as an assemblage of living organisms representing a closely interacting system. Such a population is called an ecological population. Well, or in simple words, you can say population is the sum total of all organisms of the specific type or species in a given area. For example, you people are staying in, suppose, Dharmanagar, and now you want to study the population of dogs. So you will count only the number of dogs which is present in your area, not the number of cats or the number of rats to make up the population. Thus, population in an unit refers to the specific type of organisms in a defined area. For example, you can take the tree population of a forest. In this case, your population is what? The tree population, not mango tree. If I have asked you, find the mango tree population in your area, you will count only the mango trees. But if I say you to determine the population of trees in your area, you will have to count the coconut tree, banana tree, lemon tree, cashew nut tree, and flowers, plants, and everything. Okay. Thus, what is an ecological population? If you see, it consists of many different unrelated species of organisms, and hence interbreeding is restricted. Next, the gene pool of such population is fragmented and does not allow free flow of genes. You can see what happens is that an ecological population, for example, if you take into consideration an aquatic pond and its surrounding, the number of fishes will constitute a separate population, while the number of rocks near the pond will consider another population. On the other hand, we have term as genetic population. Well, now genetic population is nothing but the assemblage of living organisms of the same species which is capable of interbreeding, inhabiting the same geographical area. Okay. We know aquatic ecosystem is the most convenient ecosystem for explanation, so we will take this into consideration. Suppose you have a pond. Now, someone asks you the ecological population of the pond. So, you will take into consideration all the number of fishes you have, the number of animals which are present around them, and you will find out the population. Like the population of fishes will be your ecological population. But during genetic population, we have to classify the fishes. Like among all the fishes in your pond, you might have rui, katla, mrigal, grass carp, and some other fishes. So all of them make a total population of fish, which is ecological population. But when I will ask you about genetic population, in that case what will happen is that we will take all the fishes separated according to its species. Like all the rohu fishes will be one population, the katlas will be a separate population, the grass carps will be a separate population. So when it comes to genetic population or genetic basis, what we do is we count the population specifically, that is we treat the species as separate entities. Thus, you can say that in a genetic population, the population shares the same gene pool and the members have free access to all the components of that pool, which means there is a free flow of genes. Again, back to the aquatic ecosystem, if you take the rohu fish, the male of rohu fishes can easily mate with any female rohu fishes, while the rohu fish will not be able to mate with the katlas, or the male community of mrigals will not be able to mate with the females of rohu fish. In this case, what happens? The genetic population is kept separate, thus they have their same gene pool defined and there is no change in their gene pool. Evolution. Now entering slowly into our main topic, evolution. What it is? Well, evolution is the change in the heritable traits, or you can say the gene pools of biological populations over successive generations. Till now we were taking into consideration the aquatic ecosystem keeping the same concept in our mind. For example, you take, due to some disaster, maximum number of fishes in the pond died off. Now there are very few amount of fishes left, which comprises of rohu, katla, mrigal and everything. Now during the mating period, what happens when the eggs and the sperms are released in the water, it is quite possible that the sperm of mrigal hybridizes, fertilizes the ovum of rohu fish. The resultant will be a fish which will have the traits of mrigal and also that of rohu. We generally call them as interbreed or breeded fish. Okay. Now, if this fish is able to keep its survival or continue its generation years after years, it gives rise to a new species in the form of evolution. Why evolution here comes into significance? Because the fish having characters of two types of fishes, it generates or it develops some new attributes, properties towards living successfully. Now this evolution can be achieved by two means, either sequentially or by divergent means. Well, in sequential form, what happens? One form gradually changes to another form. That is what we discussed right now. The other form is divergent. In divergent form, what happens is that many different forms are formed from one pre-existing form. That is, from one mother, a different type of generations can be achieved. Now, let us consider about macro and micro evolution. Well, macro evolution and micro evolution are the two types of evolution. What happens in macro evolution is that one family evolves into another, and this happens in a large scale change over a long period of time. For example, if you take into consideration the story of giraffe formation, there's a famous story that once upon a time, when there was so much scarcity of grasses due to some famine, the goats started to increase or raise their necks so that they can eat the leaves of the trees, which gave rise in the elongation of their neck, and they formed giraffe. Well, this is a story hard to believe, but the story is still evident and prominent as it has been around the ages. Well, so you can see that in case of macro evolution, what happens due to scarcity or some physical needs or attributes over a long period of time, one species develops into another. Whereas in micro evolution, what happens, small scale changes occurs within a species to produce new varieties or another species in relatively very short amount of time. Like you can take into consideration the formation of a new fish by the hybridization or fertilization of sperm of mrigal and ovum of rohu. This occurs within a short period of time. It does not need 10, 15 or 20 years of time. Again, if you consider, both of them involve changes in allele frequencies in the gene pools. Either of the, if there is macro evolution or micro evolution, the result will be change in alleles of the frequencies in gene pool. Why there will be a change? Because new characters, new traits will be attributed and they will give rise to the change in the existing gene pool, and they both work for the same basic process. The same basic process refers to the change in their genetic code. In this table, you can see what are the differences between micro and macro evolution, and I have already discussed this. You can screenshot this part for your noting purposes. In this image, you can clearly see the difference between macro and micro evolution. In the lower part, you can see micro evolution. See, the lizards are taking up small changes for their survival according to their needs. But in the macro evolution part, you can see a lizard slowly inculcates different morphological and physiological changes, and then it develops into a bird over a long period of time. So you can concludingly say that the microevolution is horizontal while the macroevolution is perpendicular. Microevolution, let us see something more in details. For example, let us take into consideration the dog variability. We all love dogs, and it is said that dog is the most faithful animal, but there are many types of dogs. So what happens is that for certain traits dogs become different and distinctive. Now a common dog, or which you will say street dog, is evidently different or significantly different from Alsatian, while the Alsatian is significantly different from Doberman. It so happens because of the microevolution, that is the changes in size, shape, color and minor genetic alterations, but their main attributes you can by seeing identify them as dogs. Their basic nature, habitat remains the same. The mechanisms which drive microevolutions are natural selection, sexual selection, artificial selection, genetic drift, gene flow. In the nearby image you can see that on the left side of the image there are two types of there is a type of beetle which has two colors, that is half of the population is brown while a part of the population is green in color, and they all are residing on the bark of a tree. Now a predator, which is a bird, it is hungry and wants to eat food, it clearly sees the green colored bugs present on the tree bark, but it cannot witness or identify the brown ones. So what it does, it feeds upon the green ones. Slowly what will happen, the green ones will realize that it is hard for them to survive unless and until they alter their color. So it will so happen that slowly and slowly they will change their color and the birds will not be able to identify them. Now for changing the color they will have to take into some new additional traits and deletion of the old traits. This gives rise to their evolution into a new species, or you can consider into a new trait, and thus the process is called microevolution. In macroevolution what happens, you see the origin of the new taxonomic groups is genetic variation between generations within a species. That implies the new species obtained will be highly genetically different from the old species. For example, we have the species of Galapagos finches. Patterns of macroevolution. Now macroevolution is achieved by three means, that is either adaptive radiation, convergent evolution or coevolution. Let us study them one by one in detail. In the very first we have adaptive radiation. Well, adaptive radiation, you can see in the given diagram there is one ancestral species at the very first, and as time passes the daughter species resemble their original one, but they have a great amount of variation either in their size, or you can see in their neck structure or color. This happens so that over a period of time they adapt to different way of life, and this give rise to diversification or formation of a new species, each adapted to a different habitat. You see in this diagram it is more clearly evident that all the finches of Galapagos are having different food habit. At the right side you see the 7 birds, they have taken up their feeding habitat, that's mainly on insect. They will eat the insects present in the community, while at the bottom part you see 4 birds, they have taken up eating seeds as their main mode of feeding. 2 birds, they have taken up cactus seeds and parts of cactus, while one has taken up birds and fruits while they continue. So in this process what we see, all the birds, they have taken up different mode of feeding so that there is less struggle for existence. For example, if you consider there is a tree and there are several population or species at that area. Now the tree cannot feed everyone, so the animals in that area mutually consent or decide to feed on different parts. The birds take up feeding on the fruits, while some of the insects that take up feeding up on the remains of the fruits. Like when the bird will be eating the fruit on the tree, some parts will fall down, they will eat upon this, while another group of insects take up feeding upon the bark of the tree, and some birds take up feeding the seeds of the tree, of the fruits. So in that case, what happens, the 4 different species of animals survives in that area on that single plant by not fighting for their food resource. As a result, all of them survive specifically. In the due course of time, what happens is that their food habit will make them change their habits, because the bird which will be feeding on the seeds of the fruit will need a strong beak to break the seeds and then eat them, while those feeding directly on the fruits will have a soft beak or broad beak, so that they can eat the fruit at one go. In that case, what happens, upon subsequent addition of new characters over a period of time, they give rise to a new species. Convergent evolution. What happens is, convergent evolution, or you can also say divergent evolution, is that the animals are from different origins, but for a specific purpose they take up or they give into rise similar attributes. Thus, for example, you can see in the given figure, we have a fish, that is the shark, a reptile, that is the ichthyosaur, and a mammal, that is a dolphin. The 3 are from different phylums, but as the 3 of them stays in water for their livelihood, they all have developed attributes which are similar to fishes. But the ichthyosaur or dolphin, they are not fish. In co-evolution, what happens is that it is a mutual evolutionary influence between 2 species which gives benefit to both of them. This can be either the predator prey or the parasite host or plant pollinator relationship. You see what happens, there are certain plants which are totally isolated from its other members due to some of the other reasons, they are, or due to their habitat. In that case, what happens, they make mutual relationship with some birds, and the birds, what they do, they get the food from those plants and they take up the responsibility of fertilizing them by transferring their pollens from one plant to another. In this mutual evolutionary influence or mutual understanding, both the species evolves together, that is side by side. In this figure, you can clearly see that an insect which is sitting on the leaf, that is praying mantis, it exactly resembles the leaf's color. As a result, no predator can easily identify it. The mutual relation or deal here is that the plant provides protection to the insect, while the insect takes up the duty of eating up all the pests that comes and feeds on that plant to protect the plant. So what happens, the both are mutually protecting each other and they both are evolving together side by side. With this, we come to the final part where the forces of evolution comes into existence. Now, how evolution occurs? Well, these are by the 5 prime process, that is mutation, genetic drift, gene flow, non-random mating and natural selection. Well, we will discuss about the forces of evolution in our upcoming classes. That's all for today. Thank you.